U.S. President Joe Biden has vowed to strike back against those responsible for the Kabul bombings, which killed 13 Marines. It's among the worst single-day losses suffered by U.S. forces in Afghanistan in almost a decade. Biden said the U.S. would complete its evacuation mission and stick to its withdrawal deadline of August 31st.
A president under pressure and close to tears. Joe Biden said he understood the pain felt by the families of the dead Marines at Kabul airport. His late son, Beau, was a veteran of the Iraq War.
A tough day. We have some sense, like many of you do, what the families of these brave heroes are feeling today. You get this feeling like you're being sucked into a black hole in the middle of your chest. There's no way out. My heart aches for you.
He paused for a moment's silence in honour of those who had died, and then said the US would strike back against those responsible for the bombings.
To those who carried out this attack, as well as anyone who wishes America harm, know this: we will not forgive. We will not forget. We will hunt you down and make you pay.
He said any retaliation would not involve a large military operation, adding that the leaders behind the attack may already be known to the US.
I've also ordered my commanders to develop operational plans to strike ISIS-K assets, leadership, and facilities. We will respond with force and precision at our time, at the place we choose, in the moment of our choosing.
Biden also pledged the mass evacuations would continue, despite the threat of further attacks at Kabul airport, but only for a few more days, with the last American soldiers set to leave on August 31st, a bloody and chaotic end to America's longest war.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was time to end a 20-year war. Thank you so much.
We can speak now to Jan St. Pierre. He's a counterterrorism expert and security analyst here in Berlin. Good morning to you. What more can you tell us? What more do we know about the group that has claimed responsibility here, the so-called Islamic State Khorasan?
Well, I don't think there's much to add. That what's been circulating in the media over the last 3-4 days, it appears that there's a new awareness of a group that's been active for many years. I think one of the key points is to understand that this is a group that is not as strong as it may be portrayed. It certainly doesn't compare in terms of numbers to some of ISIS affiliates in the Middle East or in Africa. And it's a group that has gained a lot of traction operationally speaking over the latter part of 2020 and the first part of 2021. And therefore, we can see that they're in a position to commit attacks, but very sparsely in terms that they're very they use a lot of discretion in terms of targets. They're very deliberate. Those aren't just random attacks. They're actually very targeted. So they're a small group. They can be effective, but they're not this new group or unexpected group as it's been portrayed lately.
What about the fact that the U.S. President Joe Biden has vowed to bring those behind the attack to justice? I mean, the U.S. has essentially all but left Afghanistan. So is that realistic?
It is realistic. I think in many ways it harks back to some of the earlier methods or counterterrorism methods outside the U.S. that the different administrations have used, whether it's to use missile bombings. We saw it in Afghanistan, in Sudan in the late 90s. We saw it with the Islamic State in Syria and Iraq, in Africa as well, using drone strikes, special forces. So I think there is going to be a response. I think this is a situation. It's just that it's going to be measured. It's going to be targeted using more flexible, smaller means, but that could be perceived symbolically, at least, as being more effective.
If we look at the situation in Afghanistan itself, how big of a threat does this group pose to the Taliban's power?
Well, it's not a huge threat. The problem mostly is that the Taliban aren't an homogeneous group. They're a coalition of multiple factions, tribal allegiances. This is a group that is in itself trying to maintain this coalition, this semblance of unanimity, and in this case, having to deal with the rebels in the north, having to deal with ISIS, having to deal with other factions, it does fragilize them somewhat. However, the threat of ISIS isn't that big, depending, of course, of just how well the Taliban can create and maintain this coalition and create a semblance of authority over the country. But they certainly have the capacity to be annoying enough and disruptive enough to cause the Taliban a lot of problems.
Counterterrorism analyst Jan St. Pierre with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.